कोशिश, हमारी पैनल डिस्कशन का मुद्दा भी यही है कि क्या वाकई में सूरत बदलनी चाहिए। जी हां, जैसा कि मैंने अपने इस तकरीर की शुरुआत में ही आपसे कहा कि हम युगों युगों से अपने देश रूपी सागर को विचारों से भरते जा रहे हैं, उसे लबालब कर दिया है हमने। लेकिन हम उसके मंथन के लिए, विचार तो बहुत रहे लेकिन विमर्श के लिए वक्त नहीं निकाल पाए। इस तरह की जो पहल होती है वो पहल विमर्श की होती है। जी हां, और यहां आकर हमारा मकसद कतई कोई हंगामा खड़ा करना नहीं है, बल्कि हम दुनिया को ये प्रमाणित करना चाहते हैं कि अगर अपने देश की राजनीति को और प्रगाढ़ करना है और मजबूत करना है, समृद्ध करना है, प्रॉस्पेरस करना है, तो आप जैसे प्रोफेशनल्स को उसका हिस्सेदार बनना ही पड़ेगा। इसलिए सबसे बड़ा मकसद आपको यहां पर आमंत्रित करने का यह है कि एक तो हम इस बात को प्रमाणित कर पाएं कि आप इस देश के लिए, इस समाज के लिए, इस राजनीति के लिए कितने अहम हैं, और आपके आने से ही देश प्रोत्साहित होगा, अगली नस्लों को फर्क पड़ेगा। और हम ये भी तो कहते हैं कि हयात लेके चलो, कायनात लेके चलो, चलो तो सारे जमाने को साथ लेके चलो। मौजूद हाज़रीन, इससे पहले कि हम देश को रोशन करने की दिशा में अपने कदम बढ़ाएं, मैं अपने तमाम मौजूद मेहमानों से गुजारिश करूंगा कि वो लैंप की तरफ बढ़ें और अपने दस्ते मुबारक से, करकमलों से इस चिराग को रोशन करके इस कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करें। मैं अमिता जी से और इस कार्यक्रम के जितने भी वरिष्ठ प्रतिनिधि हैं उनसे गुजारिश करूंगा कि हमारे मौजूद मेहमानों को लैंप की ओर लेके जाएं, ताकि उसे प्रज्वलित करके हम लोग उस ईश्वर को साक्षी मानकर इस कार्यक्रम को सफल बना सकें, उपयोगी बना सकें। सर Thank you so much, distinguished panelists. देवियों सज्जनों, हम जैसे संचालकों के लिए, हम जैसे एमसीज के लिए, हम जैसे कॉम्पियर्स के लिए सबसे बड़ा जो चुनौती होती है वो यही होती है कि इन जैसे महानुभावों का तारुफ, इनका परिचय किस तरह से कराया जाए, नए अंदाज में कराया जाए। अब आप कब तक सूरज को दीपक दिखाते रहेंगे? जी हाँ, क्योंकि ऐसे महानुभावों का नाम लेना ही इनकी शख्सियत का श्रृंगार पूरा कर देता है। जी हाँ, लेकिन फिर भी हम चाहेंगे, ये खास तौर से हमारे लिए आए हैं, आपके लिए आए हैं, तो इतना तो बनता है कि हम इनका खैर मकदम करें, इनका इस्तकबाल करें, इनके पास अपनी छोटी छोटी यादगारें छोड़ें। जी, सबसे पहले हम चाहेंगे कि इनका अभिवादन, हम कुछ स्मृति चिन्ह हैं हमारे पास, कुछ मेमेंटोज हैं, कुछ ग्रीन सर्टिफिकेट्स जो बहुत ही प्रेस्टिजियस हैं, इस तरह के प्रशस्ति पत्र हैं, हम इन्हें भेंट करना चाहेंगे। और मैं ऑल इंडिया प्रोफेशनल्स कांग्रेस के ही बहुत वरिष्ठ प्रतिनिधि हैं जनाब शमित्रा चक्रवर्ती और जनाब अवैस खान साहब से गुजारिश करूंगा कि वो आएं और सबसे पहले पूरे एहतराम के साथ सबसे पहले नाम ले रहा हूं मेंबर राज्यसभा एमिनेंट लॉयर का। विषय चाहे इकोनॉमिक्स हो, फॉरेन पॉलिसी हो, होम अफेयर्स हो, हर सब्जेक्ट का पूरी कन्विक्शन के साथ एनालिसिस करने में आपका कोई जवाब नहीं सर। जी हां, जोरदार तालियों के साथ स्वागत कीजिए माननीय श्री पी चिदम्बरम जी का। और अब खुशामदीद कहते हैं राज्यसभा के माननीय सदस्य, वरिष्ठ कांग्रेस नेता, जाने माने वकील, एचआरडी और टेलीकॉम जैसी अहम मिनिस्ट्रीज की सरपरस्ती करने वाले बेहद मिलनसार शख्सियत के मालिक श्री कपिल सिब्बल जी। मैं चाहूंगा कि मिस श्यामली, प्रकाश जी और आशीष कुमार जी उन्हें स्मृति चिन्ह और ग्रीन सर्टिफिकेट भेंट करें। तालियां तो बजनी चाहिए सब। Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome former Union Minister for External Affairs, Education, मानवीय कार्यों और न्याय जैसे क्षेत्रों में इनका योगदान सदा ही बेमिसाल रहा है। जी हां, मेरी मुराद ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी द्वारा डॉक्टरेट की उपाधि से नवाजे गए हम सबके अपने डॉक्टर सलमान खुर्शीद साहब। इनका इस्तकबाल करेंगी मिस अवनी बंसल और जनाब आरवी प्रभात सहर। सलमान जी। A known Congress MP and a senior advocate of the Supreme Court, former Additional Solicitor General, served as the chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Law and Justice, Democracy, Governance और Judiciary पर इनका लेखन काफी सराहनीय रहा है। यकीनन परिचय से आप पहचान गए होंगे कि मेरा इशारा किन की तरफ है। जी हां, तहे दिल से एहतराम करते हैं डॉक्टर अभिषेक मनु सिंघवी जी का। इसके लिए मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा मिस्टर अमिताभ दुबे जी को और मिसेस भारती जी को। और अब जिनका अभिवादन हम करने जा रहे हैं, उनकी इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स पर पकड़, उनकी बेबाकी, उनकी कम्युनिकेशन स्किल के हम सभी कायल हैं। आप लॉयर हैं, सांसद होने के साथ साथ आपने सूचना और प्रसारण मंत्रालय की जिम्मेदारी भी बखूबी निभाई है। जी हां, जुझारूपन और जिम्मेदारी यानी मनीष तिवारी। श्री मनीष तिवारी जी का इस मंच पर हार्दिक स्वागत है। इनके अभिवादन के लिए मैं गुजारिश करूंगा मिस सूफिया जी से, राजीव जैन जी से। अब बारी है मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट एंड प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ ऑल इंडिया महिला कांग्रेस, द वुमेन्स विंग ऑफ इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस। वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट की दिशा में किए गए इनके प्रयास सराहनीय हैं। महिला आरक्षण बिल के लिए किया गया इनका संघर्ष कौन भूल सकता है। पूरे सम्मान और एहतराम के साथ मैं नाम ले रहा हूं सुश्री सुष्मिता देव जी का। हार्दिक स्वागत है सुष्मिता जी। इसके लिए अभिवादन के लिए मैं गुजारिश करूंगा इनके इस्तकबाल के लिए जनाब दानिश अली जी और जनाब मोहित सर। Now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to honor an author, a politician, and a former international civil servant. दुनिया भर के तजुर्बों का खजाना है ये शख्स। Currently a second term Lok Sabha MP and a chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs. He has previously served as Minister of State for Human Resource Development and Minister of State for External Affairs in the Government of India. यूनाइटेड नेशंस में इनका कार्यकाल सिर्फ संयुक्त राष्ट्र के लिए ही उल्लेखनीय नहीं रहा, बल्कि इन्होंने अपनी काबिलियत से पूरे हिंदुस्तान को गौरवान्वित किया है। तो आइए जोरदार तालियों से स्वागत करते हैं हर दिल अजीज कमाल के वक्ता डॉक्टर शशि थरूर जी का। इसके लिए मैं गुजारिश करूंगा जनाब रोशन संथालिया जी से, योगेश सचदेवा जी से। और इस सम्मान अभिवादन सिलसिले के बाद देवी और सज्जनों, मंच पर आने का आग्रह उन मोहतरमा से करूंगा who left no stone unturned to make this program unforgettable, successful. जी हां, आप ऑल इंडिया प्रोफेशनल्स कांग्रेस नॉर्थ जोन की कोऑर्डिनेटर हैं और AIPC उत्तर प्रदेश की प्रेसिडेंट हैं। संक्षिप्त में आज के विषय पर रोशनी डालने के लिए और आप सभी का औपचारिक रूप से फॉर्मली वेलकम करने के लिए, अभिवादन करने के लिए, आपका इस्तकबाल करने के लिए मैं दावत दे रहा हूं, विनम्र आग्रह कर रहा हूं, जी हां, अमिता सिंह जी से।
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When I look at all of you today, the dignitaries on the dais, members of the audience, friends, colleagues, professionals from across the nation, my heart sings with joy. While we wait to listen to these eminent voices on stage, let's ask ourselves one resounding question. Is India being redefined? Many of us here grew up in an India where we saw the transition of India's polity from foreign governance to self-governance, from autocracy to a democracy. We grew up in an India where we saw the transition of India's economy from a homebound one to one that is open to the world. We grew up in an India where unity in diversity was the principle we lived by at school, college, and our professional workspaces. To quote Chief Justice M.N. Venkatachalya, India is such a pluralist society, a model of unity in the mosaic of diversities. With the passage of time now, when I look back at how India is shaping up, especially in the last 4.5 years, I have to say, worry gets the better of me. I worry not because of what will become my country in times to come, for I firmly believe that India will triumph no matter what. But the concern remains due to the culmination of the forces that seem determined to destroy the very fabric of this nation. The Constitution, the economy, the institutions, foreign policy, media, defense, education, women, and many more. Where do we see ourselves today? The only way India has survived and will survive is when its people, you and I, ask the right questions at the right time. So let's hear from our esteemed panel today on how India is being redefined. We are in such august presence that I wished to not take up much of your time. But before I hand over, I have to request you all to put your hands together and give a big round of applause to the entire team of the All India Professionals Congress, the Delhi state, who have curated this event and gotten us together, left no stone unturned to make this event a grand success and bring to fruition Dr. Shashi Tharoor's vision of getting professionals to actively come forward in building this idea of India. The time to act is now. We have to plunge in and give it our all. For history teaches us there are times when we cannot afford to wait and watch. The times that our country is facing today requires every bit of young, youthful, positive, constructive energy to come together for a bigger cause of strengthening India and putting our nation first. I agree that as we progress, definitions and understandings change. And this is acceptable as long as the essence and the very fundamentals of our democracy are not tampered with. We would resist any such malified intent to redefine our motherland, and hence we are here together today to examine through this eminent panel as to whether there is a serious attempt to do the same. And if yes, then what can be done to stop it? With this vision, Congress President Shri Rahul Gandhi ji is ready with his entire team to enter the battlefield, which is not just about winning an election, but more so for the cause of protecting our ideology, the Congress's ideology, the nation's ideology. And what exactly is this ideology, you may ask? We stand for justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, and a nation for all. We believe in uniting people, not dividing them. We believe in a nation where no one feels threatened, confused, insecure, fearful. Everyone partakes in decision-making, and above all, in a nation where truth alone triumphs. I call everyone who believes in this vision to come forward and be heard. For together, we will take the nation forward, upward, and onward. Now, before I conclude, I would like to quote Nani Palkiwala, who said, "It is not enough that we believe in our national motto, truth will prevail. Truth, no doubt, will ultimately prevail, but we must take active steps to ensure that falsehood does not have too long an inning before the ultimate moment of truth arrives." I would like to thank one and all of you for being here today. And now, without any further ado, I would like to hand over the stage to AIPC's National Election Coordinator, Mr. Salman Anis Soz.
Thank you, Amita ji. Thank you so much. वाह, इतनी तादाद में इतनी बड़ी ऑडियंस को देखकर बस यही कहने का दिल करता है कि अगर आप चाहेंगे चाहने वालों की तरह, ये मुल्क संवर जाएगा बिखरे हुए बालों की तरह। थैंक यू सो मच। आप लोग आए, बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। जैसा कि देवी और सज्जन आप जानते हैं कि कुछ ही देर में एक बहुत ही अहम मौजू पर, एक बहुत ही अहम विषय पर पैनल डिस्कशन शुरू होने जा रही है। विषय अभी तक यही सुनते आ रहे थे कि क्या देश परिभाषित हो रहा है, रीडिफाइन हो रहा है, क्या उसकी जरूरत है, होना चाहिए या नहीं होना चाहिए। इस पैनल डिस्कशन का एक्चुअल मुद्दा, उसका आधार, उसकी एसेंस, उसकी इथॉस क्या होनी चाहिए, इसकी डिजाइनिंग जिसने की है, जिसकी परिकल्पना है, बहुत खूबसूरत, बहुत भागदौड़ की है उस शख्स ने। जिस तरह से मैं अपनी आवाज की बात करता हूं, अपनी सोच की बात करते हैं। जी हां, मेरी मुराद है इस पैनल डिस्कशन की कंटेक्स्ट सेटिंग को समझाने के लिए जनाब सलमान सोज साहब से कि वो यहां आए और इस विषय पर रोशनी डालें ताकि वो अनाउंस कर सकें कि अब पैनल डिस्कशन को शुरू किया जाए।
Thank you. Good evening. Adab. My distinguished senior colleagues, fellows of AIPC, and esteemed guests. I thank you for joining us at this important event. I want to thank my team in Delhi who put up a tremendous event, worked very, very hard over the last month to make all of us come together. And what a panel we have. It's an amazing panel. As we meet here, elsewhere in Delhi, lakhs of our brothers and sisters from the farming community are fighting for justice. I want to recognize their efforts and hope that with the ideas we can generate through organizations such as AIPC, we can find sustainable solutions to their long-standing problems. Just a moment on AIPC. The Congress President and Dr. Tharoor in 2017 launched the All India Professionals Congress. We've long felt that professionals, entrepreneurs, businessmen and women do not engage sufficiently in the political process. We wanted to bring in fresh ideas because not all ideas come from Delhi. The Congress President was keen to get fresh ideas and fresh talent for the Congress Party so that we take the vision of the people of India and turn it into a reality through the Congress Party. Today's topic is of fundamental importance, and I'll let my eminent colleagues share their views on how they see attempts to redefine India. I just want to point out that if you think about our national discourse, especially what the ruling establishment and its friends in the captive media are promoting, it is divorced from the reality that we see on the international stage. We're not talking about the fourth industrial revolution. We don't talk about automation enough, robotics. We don't even talk about climate change enough. How many people in India, for example, know that Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh are going to be the worst affected states in the years to come because of climate change? How many people in India talk about Vidarbha and 7 districts in Vidarbha that are going to be the worst affected districts in this country in the coming years? Water stress all around the country. These are issues of fundamental importance, but we need to have these discussions, but we're not having these discussions at all. Finally, I want all of you to know that even though today you see a lot of our senior Congress members out here, AIPC is not only for Congress members. We are an open platform. In fact, we've had guests from a variety of fields, and a lot of them are from, they're not Congressees per se, but they do believe that the country is going in the wrong direction and they want to do something about it. With that, I hand over the proceedings to my friend, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, and I thank you again for joining us here. Thank you.
सलमान भाई, डॉक्टर थरूर आपका थैंक्स बोल रहे हैं, आपका अभिवादन कर रहे हैं। मौजूद हाज़रीन, अब मैं ज़्यादा फुटेज नहीं खाऊंगा क्योंकि आप बहुत देर से मुंतज़िर हैं, जिस वजह से आप यहाँ पर पधारे हैं। हमने बहुत सी भूमिका बांध दी। जिस मौजू पर, जिस विषय पर, जिस टॉपिक पर अब बात होने जा रही है वो आपसे मुताल्लिक है, आपसे संबंधित है कि प्रोफेशनल्स की भागीदारी क्या होनी चाहिए राजनीति में, उससे क्या क्या फ़ायदे होंगे। इसी मुद्दे को लेकर हमारी पैनल डिस्कशन है, जिसकी मॉडरेशन, जिसको संचालित करेंगे और कोई नहीं, डॉक्टर शशि थरूर साहब। और बस इनसे यही कहूँगा कि बुलंद इरादों का ऐसा दस्तूर हो जाए कि वक्त भी हाथ मिलाने को मजबूर हो जाए। डॉक्टर शशि थरूर।
Thank you all very much, and it's really a delight to see so many of you having turned up, and I gather more stuck outside the auditorium for this discussion hosted by the All India Professionals Congress on the theme is India being redefined. I'm proud that we are joined by a galaxy of some of the finest minds in the Indian National Congress. The All India Professionals Congress seeks to provide a platform for professionals to interact with politicians. And what a platform we have today here at Siri Fort. Thank you all so much for having attended. We've had some lengthy preliminaries. I'm going to get straight into the conversation. Our plan is I will start off with roughly a question each to each of the panelists, but once we hear the response from the principal person being addressed, I'm inviting the others to chip in so we can have a freewheeling discussion. And I'm going to start with the person immediately on my left, Mr. P. Chidambaram, who, as we know, has served on more than one occasion as Finance Minister of India. Just to start with the latest news headlines from yesterday, the government seems to have gone ahead and reinvented, redefined, the GDP numbers for when we were in government. And one of the curious things about this is that suddenly we've had numbers being issued, withdrawn, reissued, re-announced, redefined. And I wonder what this does for our credibility as a source of reliable data and statistics globally. How should the public here understand what has happened in terms of the new GDP figures for the previous years that were issued by the government yesterday? Yeah.
I'm told they are going to do a back series for China next and prove that China didn't grow at double digit over several years. They have left out 2004-05, the first year of the UPA, and they've left out all the 6 years of the Vajpayee government. So I think this is a very convenient exercise on the eve of 5 state elections. Mercifully, only 2 of them remain. Even after this redefinition, the pattern of growth and decline remains exactly the same. It's just that the entire curve has moved down a jot. The pattern is exactly the same. And the pattern is, and I state that with utmost conviction, that the best years of India's growth since independence have been 2004 to 2014. There is no question about that. I wish them to do better. But they cannot erase the fact that the best years of growth were 2004 to 2014. What they're trying to prove is that 4 years of NDA is slightly better than 9 years of UPA. Now, why it's only 9 years and why not 10 years, I don't know. But if you're looking at 4 years of NDA, you should look at 4 years of UPA. Why are you looking at 9 years of UPA? It's quite possible that they're only looking at 4 years of NDA because they don't hope to be there for 9 years, which is good, which I think is welcome. I think nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, but I want to leave you with this thought. If GDP growth in the last 4 years is better than the UPA years, why is investment down by almost 5-6 percentage points? Why are exports not crossing the $315 billion mark registered in March 2014? Why is credit growth sluggish and credit growth to industry barely 1.4%? Why are no jobs being created? Why is there so much farm distress and the maximum number of farmer suicides in the last 4 years? If every other indicator is pointing south, how is your GDP alone pointing north? If somebody can explain this puzzle to me, I'll be very happy.
I just want to point out another thing, and I think you may want to comment on it, that if you really compare corporate profits, corporate tax, if you compare individual tax earnings, you compare non-farm income, farm income, compare sales of tractors, sales of cars, sales of two-wheelers, you will find that the data there, if you compare, say, 2011-12 to 16-17 or 17-18, in fact, if what they are saying is true, then the data should be the other way around. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that the data is abysmally low. Even on the data that they have projected, is abysmally low in 17-18 as compared to 11-12 or any of the years when the UPA was in power. And I remember them saying that we suffered from a policy paralysis. And in that policy paralysis, in 2010, our growth rate under the old calculations was over 10%. That's when there was policy paralysis. And now, when there is policy,
efflorescence.
Then, of course, the growth rate is, according to them even, is 7.3%.
I think Mr. Abhishek Burman has a very good article today with all the data. Farm wages are growing at a lower rate. Corporate profits are lower. Every other indicator is lower than what it was. If every indicator is pointing down, how can GDP growth be up? I mean, this is something which somebody has to, this puzzle has to be solved by somebody.
Maybe DT or you can solve that.
Yeah. Well, they've actually, I think, also not filled the position of chief statistician for 9 months, and this enables them, no doubt, to make up different numbers. It's a great pity because we had a very good worldwide reputation for reliable data, whereas the Chinese, for the longest time, were reputed to have dodgy numbers. But now, with this kind of behavior, we are really discrediting ourselves. And that brings me to demonetization and GST. I mean, demonetization was a bad idea implemented badly. GST was a good idea implemented badly. Now, what are we going to, how are we going to explain to the people of India the damage that has been done by these reckless decisions of the government? PC, perhaps you could tackle it first.
Yeah, but I think it's, by and large, there is consensus that demonetization was an utterly foolish decision that set us back by almost 1.5% of GDP and set back growth for 2 years. And before the economy could recover from the shock of demonetization, they implemented GST in a most inefficient manner. The design was wrong, the rates were wrong, the compliances were wrong, the monitoring was wrong, the backbone was wrong. Everything was wrong about it, except the idea of GST.
Which was our idea.
Yes. Now, the point is, even a brilliant economist like Dr. Arvind Subramaniam was unwilling to speak up when he was in office, and that's what makes me sad. He owes nothing to this government. He had a regular job in one of the most prestigious institutes, and he could have joined any university of repute. He wrote the revenue neutral rate report on GST. The government ditched that report.
That rate was 13%.
14 to 14.5%. Government ditched that report and had 18 and 28 and 40. He didn't speak while he was in office. On demonetization, I publicly said on the evening of November 8th, he was in faraway Kerala addressing a seminar when he was told to watch the television at 8 o'clock for an important announcement. Now, yesterday, he comes out with his book calling demonetization a monetary shock and all other words. Now, why don't people speak when they are in office? What is the kind of fear that this government has instilled in people that nobody wants to speak up? That is the sad part. If people who are knowledgeable, learned, scholars, academics, thinking people refuse to speak, what will happen is quacks will decide what our economics will be.
Just to give some number to the 1.5% GDP growth that we lost, and according to PC, that number is 2.25 lakh crores.
Yes.
That's the number that he gave. So the presumptive loss of 1,76,000 was a scam, but the actual loss of 2.25 crores is not a scam. Look at the irony of it. More than 100 people lost their lives. The country actual loss 2.25 lakh crores. And they still are adamant about the fact that it was a great success. And I think unless policy makers are humble enough to admit their mistakes, no country can move forward.
Well said. Let me actually then move the conversation on to you, Kapil, because one of the issues we've been all concerned about is the extent to which the institutions on which our democracy rests appear to have been undermined in recent years. Part of this redefinition of India has involved a sort of hollowing out of institutions, which used to be the bedrock pillars of our system for a very long time. We began the year with the 4 judges of the Supreme Court making a public appearance, unprecedented. Most recently, we've had the drama surrounding the CBI. In between, we've had serious questions being raised about the integrity and the credibility and the neutrality of institutions ranging from the Election Commission to the Information Commissioners. The worry is, where are we going? The RBI, we talked about demonetization. The Reserve Bank of India was completely silent during demonetization. What is happening to our institutions?
I tell you, I think the heart of the problem is the following, and that's not happened in the history of this country. The heart of the problem is that the party, and when I mean the party, I mean the BJP and the RSS, has taken over the government. You see, when we were in power and when Congress and other parties were in power, there was always a difference between the government and the party. Because when you are in government, it really doesn't matter who you are serving. It may be a Congress person, it may be a BJP person, it may be a TMC person, it may be anybody. Because you are government and you need to deal with the citizens of this country in an equal manner. However, the real change that has taken place since 2014 is that now government is the party. And therefore you decide that all policies are based on what the party and what the RSS wants. So if you want to appoint governors, they must be RSS people. If you want to appoint vice chancellors, they must be RSS people.
The president and the vice president
if you want, I don't want to.
That is understandable.
Yeah, that's understandable. I can understand that. I can
political appointments.
Yeah, it's a political appointing. Right, but look at, if you want an agency like the CBI to run, then you must make sure that the person in charge of key cases is a person who sympathizes with the party in power. So your CBI, your ED, your income tax authorities, your NIA are all controlled by the party. So if your educational institutions are controlled, and now history is being controlled by the RSS. So if your history is going to be redefined, your governor's functions are going to be redefined, your vice chancellor's functions are to be redefined, your agency's functions are to be redefined, your speaker's responsibilities are to be redefined. Now speakers in various assemblies actually make sure that illegal governments continue in power. And governors in various states want to make sure that in fact they help the party to install a government. Now, if governors and speakers of the assemblies behave in this fashion, and all institutions are denigrated, then what does it tell us about the nature of the state? It tells you that the state has been diminished in the last 4 years. And I hope in 2019, we have a chance to set things right.
Absolutely. In fact, there's probably no better illustration of that diminishing than the annual spectacle of the cabinet trooping to Nagpur to submit their report cards to the RSS and come back suitably admonished and corrected by the... I mean, this is unprecedented in a democracy like ours.
The kind of space that the RSS gets on television, in electronic media, has never happened before. It becomes a national event if Mohan Bhagwat speaks.
That's true.
Right? And that's really worrying.
Well, that brings me to Manish, because as former Minister of Information Broadcasting, Manish, one of the institutions Kapil hasn't mentioned is the media, which is after all an institution of our democracy also. And you know well that we have relied on the Fourth Estate. I must say we've been brought down in many ways by the Fourth Estate when the UPA was in power. Because of the untrammeled freedom of the press, a number of charges were hung around the neck of the government, which certainly helped cost the election in 2014. And in a democracy, that's fair game. That's what the media is there for, to hold governments accountable. Today, we have a situation where articles revealing worrying bits of information about people close to the powers that be mysteriously disappear overnight from the websites of leading publications, when editors who come up with hate trackers are fired, when other journalists lose their jobs after reports incur the displeasure of the powers that be, when all it takes is a phone call to a media proprietor to ensure that editors are brought to heel. You don't need censorship or anything as crude as that when you have these techniques at your disposal. How have you seen the media since your time dealing with it on a day-to-day basis as minister?
Shashi, before I answer that question, I would just like to supplement to what Mr. Sibbal said about the hollowing out of institutions. I think to understand as to why the BJP RSS has deliberately tried to subvert and undermine institutions, you have to really go back to 1947. So in 1947, we had a religious partition. There was an Islamic Pakistan, and there was a pluralist, inclusive India. Now there's some people who are in government now who believed that that religious partition should have gone to a logical conclusion in 1947. If there was an Islamic Pakistan, there should have been a Hindu India. Fortunately for this country, and unfortunately for them, the founding fathers were people of great wisdom and sagacity. And they ensured that the pluralist, inclusive ideal persevered, consolidated itself over 7 decades. And in 2014, when the BJP came into office, on the thinnest electoral base which a majority government has had since 1952, they thought that they've got the license to rewrite the idea of India. And in that attempt to rewrite the idea of India, to turn India, if not into a de jure majoritarian state, but a de facto majoritarian state, you require weak institutions. And therefore, one by one, every institution was systematically attacked, systematically sought to be undermined, and the media, unfortunately, was the first to keel over. Because there was a fundamental problem. And the fundamental problem was articulated far back in 1974 by by an independent member of the Rajya Sabha during a debate on the press bill, when he said that there is no freedom of press in India. It's the freedom of the owner of the press. It's a delegated freedom which is enjoyed by the manager of the press. And unfortunately, that's a reality which has perpetuated itself, despite the diversity that you have in the media space. So corporate ownership of media makes it very easy for any government, if it decides to be authoritarian, to actually get them to bend. And you pointed to the fact that we were at the receiving end of bad press and maybe unable or unwilling to arm twist or intimidate in the manner which we've seen over the past 4 years. Let me relate an anecdote to you and end. So when I became Minister of Information and Broadcasting, the press was absolutely gaulish. They were going after us for all the wrong reasons which in court could not stand the test of time. And I asked Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, I said, sir, what should be our approach towards the media? He said it should be an essay in persuasion and not an essay in coercion. So here was a Prime Minister who was at the receiving end of perhaps the worst onslaught that any Prime Minister has faced. But he was unwilling to compromise on the cardinal principle that good democracy requires a free media, irrespective of how they were currently behaving at that point in time. These people have stood that principle on its head. And unfortunately, those who were supposed to stand up for that ideal and protect themselves, they were the first to kind of tumble. And the big worry, Shashi, is that the message which the media has sent to the political class is that if you deal with us in a particular manner, we are ready to do your bidding. That is going to have very, very potential implications for democracy in this country.
I agree with you. In fact, I was reminded of Mr. Advani's famous comment in 1977 to the media that you were asked to bend and you chose to crawl. Here, they've not even officially, publicly been asked to bend. And too many have chosen to crawl, and that is indeed very, very worrying. But Abhishek, Manu, Singhvi, Manish began by referring to the constitutional issue, as it were, that arose when, after all, you had the nationalist movement dividing on two ideas, an idea that said that religion should be the principal determinant of nationhood, which was the idea of Pakistan, and an idea that said no, religion is not the determinant of nationhood, that your nation is for everybody in it, and that was the idea of India. And now we have a ruling dispensation that seems to want to import the idea of Pakistan into India and try and create a Hindu Rashtra in their own phrase. As a constitutionalist of some eminence yourself, how do you see this danger? Is it a danger? Can this be done through subterfuge? I mean, I've always believed that merely striking the word secular off the Constitution doesn't render our Constitution unsecular. It's a secular Constitution with freedom of worship, freedom of religion, all sorts of other freedoms built into it. But can they bring in a Hindu Rashtra? Are you worried about this? That seems to be part of the redefinition attempt we're seeing.
Well, fortunately, Shashi, India's constitution, Indian democracy,
Little closer.
fortunately, is so deep, so wide, and the roots are so entrenched that it's not going to be easy to rewrite or redefine India. But you can rest assured it's not for want of trying. And the trying, as Manish rightly traced it back, started even before 1947. And, just imagine the wisdom, the restraint, the far-sightedness of our founders in those 3 years, 46 to 49, when they were beset with this terrible turmoil, partition, religious bigotry, fights, killings. And yet these people sat for 3 years and drafted this remarkably inclusive document. The very fact that you could think inclusively in those times, when you had trainloads of killings coming this way and that way, when you had this terrible communal virus, I think that shows real wisdom. And when that ended on 26th of November, 1949, which we celebrate as Law Day and now as Constitution Day, just a few days ago, if you pick up the organizer of 30th November, 4 days later, you realize the mindset, heavily critical of 3 years of constitution making. I have a quote here with me. It says, people who have who have shown their constitutional punditry don't understand the essence of India, don't understand the idea of India. This is the organizer of 30th November 1949. Now these are the same people who wanted a different constitution then. People who were not part of that struggle, but they wanted the document to be different, its ethos to be different. Today, of course, they have suddenly become great admirers of the principal draftsman of that constitution. But they were heavily critical of B.R. Ambedkar. And that is why, take the preamble, Shashi, It has many words. It has secular, it has fraternity, it has socialism. These are bugbears, in a sense, not only in words, for the people who control from Nagpur. Anand Kumar Hegde in December 17 officially said, he's a minister, he's a leading light of the BJP, we are here to change the constitution, and change the constitution we shall. Yogi Adityanath, I've yet to understand how a yogi can become a chief minister or be in politics. Mr. Bish said, in quotes, a year ago or 8 months ago, I have the date, the biggest lie since independence is secularism. Now, you see, these mindsets escape. It's like a cat escaping out of the bag. But this is the real thinking. Remember, Vajpayee ji, with his much more inclusive approach, because of pressure from the BJP, did attempt in a much milder way. He set up the Constitution Review Committee. But the opposition at that time, it was a much milder world and a less divisive world, was so much that that commission was wound up. And it had some good balanced people on it. Today, the attempt is to first de facto change it and then de jure tinker with it. And there are innumerable examples. The whole idea of fraternity, which is reassurance, non-divisiveness, security, the whole idea of secularism. Professor Bhargava has a very nice definition. He said, why do you say of the people, by the people, for the people? Lincoln used these 3 words. He says, I can understand for the people and by the people. Of the people is to impart a sense of co-ownership of democracy. That is the antithesis of what the RSS thinks. I am not yet going to passages from Mr. Golwalkar, who is highly critical of this approach. He's suddenly been put a little bit on the back burner. You read Veer Savarkar, you will realize. So the point is that the approach is totally different. And the second point, and therefore you can rest assured that unless you are vigilant, this can happen any time. As I said, fortunately there are lots of safeguards. Fortunately, there are lots of parties, apart from the Congress as well, and it's not going to be easy. But the intention is clearly there. There is not an iota of doubt about the intention. And about the media, before I end, just one thing, Shashi. I think, yes, we have to blame all these insidious attempts. But we have to be open to blame sections of the media. You give power to somebody, I don't think you should be surprised that that power will be attempted to be misused. But what has happened to this great fourth estate? We have, of course, it's our fault as well, we have a broadcasting bill pending in Parliament in some form or the other for 20 years, which was supposed to create Chinese walls about conflicts of interest. But today, large sections or sections of the media, and there are honorable exceptions, there are strong exceptions who have lots to lose, but who have withstood this assault. But there are large sections of the media who could have stood up, who have bent, crawled and done much more before they've been asked. And I think we have to expose them, at least embarrass them and shame them.
Sushmita, I'm going to come back to you, but I want to skip to Salman briefly on the same issue that Manish raised, that Abhishek Manu Singhvi has addressed. Salman, I mean, you know, we've got a country now where very great consciousness of minority-majority differences has come into the public space. I won't say that India was completely unconscious, but for many years, certainly when we were growing up, some of us on this panel, we were constantly encouraged and exhorted to think beyond that. National integration was constantly a theme of official encouragement. There was a great desire to not let people fall into a mindset that somehow religion made you different from your fellow Indians in any way. You are yourself a Muslim Indian. You've written a book on that experience of being a Muslim in India. How do you see these attempts to redefine India coming out of the Sangh Parivar in the last few years? And I'm going to come back to the official role you're here for, which is foreign policy, later. But I thought on this issue, things have been said that we should have your point of view.
Well, thank you. I think this is a very critical moment for what is a very intrinsic and valuable part of Indian ethos. And I think that we have to be, the minority has to be equally vigilant and careful, because minority aspirations, legitimate as they may be, are being misused and misrepresented by the BJP. Whereas I think that in the world, minority outreach program of the kind that the UPA 1 and 2 unleashed is been unheard of. An outreach which allowed for true equality and true participation. But in fact, the manner in which it was presented, both by the minority as indeed by the BJP, it became a bugbear. And I think that what it did is that it detracted from the purpose which was to bring minority and majority together most solidly, which is what Indian ethos and Indian constitution is about. And therefore, the majority today, I believe, has an enormous responsibility, and I must acknowledge that India is secular largely because Indian majority has ensured that India is secular. And I think this is something that cannot be forgotten. Minority contributes a valuable dimension to Indian secularism and the richness of Indian secularism, but the minority must understand that the majority is trying to help the minority and it mustn't make life more difficult. So there will be many issues on which we will have to allow the majority leadership to speak rather than to come forward and speak on everything ourselves. And I beg of the minority not to insist that their own leaders speak on every subject relating to the minority. Rather, they should insist that minority leaders speak on issues that concern the majority. And we will prevail, we will overcome. I do believe the fight is not only for the minority, the fight is for the true vision and understanding of Hinduism, and who would know that better than you, who's written the book of Why I'm a Hindu.
Thank you, Salman. I think Kapil is going to chip in on this.
No, I was, you see, the point is, what's the environment today? When anybody from the majority community attempts to talk secular, in a secular mode, the bhakts immediately and the television channels catch and start attacking, saying that you are pro-Muslim, you are pro-Muslim. That's the atmosphere that we're living in. So the majority is afraid to raise those issues. Minority is otherwise afraid. And the television channels and the bhakts have taken over. And that's where we are today. What we need to do, and I think that's really why this audience is here, that we have to reach out to the rest of the country and say, look, India first, all this much later. We have to protect our country.
Well said. There is one minority we need to address here today, and that is the minority on the stage represented by Sushmita so ably. Sushmita, women have had a very sort of, if I can use a word I've become rather fond of lately, paradoxical situation in India, because we've had, on the one hand, some of the most awful oppression and discrimination endured by women in this country over the years, and we've also had some of the most remarkable success stories amongst the world's first women doctors, first women lawyers, first women CEOs, one of the first women prime ministers. All of these have been Indians. I was just reading an article showing that we actually have double the world average of women commercial pilots in our airlines compared to other countries. So you are working in the part of the Congress that deals with women's issues. Are you seeing in these recent years an attempt to redefine women's roles down? Are you seeing encouraging signs of progress? What are the issues you feel you need to fight for the hardest for this minority of women?
Well, Dr. Tharoor, I'd like to say that I might be a minority on stage, but 50% of the population is women. So, apart from that...
in Kerala, you're a majority, I might add, but nowhere else.
I think there's nothing wrong in a country redefining itself. In fact, it must. But the problem with this government is that the optics are very good. You have a defense minister who's a woman. You have a foreign minister who's a woman. You, for a while, had the HRD minister who was a woman. So if you look at the superficial side of this party, it's excellent. But if you were to dig just a little deep, you would see how hollow and skewed the vision of the BJP is when it comes to empowering women. And the only way you can decipher that or really understand this is if you study the mindset of the RSS. Without understanding the RSS, you cannot understand what Narendra Modi ji means when he says, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. I mean, to my mind, that's his pet slogan for women. But the fact that you refer to a woman as a Beti and not as a Nari or a Mahila is because you're defining her vis-a-vis her relationship to her father.
Patriarch.
So, I mean, he thinks he's wearing it as a badge of honor. I think it's a shame that that's how he defines women. I mean, I was at an airport. I'm trying to not give a lecture on ideology, but give you very simple examples because we have professionals here. They probably have more knowledge than me on many subjects. It's the Prime Minister runs an ad saying, Ujjwala gas, 2 crore mahilaon ko samman diya. So I've given 2 crore women respect by giving them gas cylinders. But gas is a clean energy issue. But he's connected it to women because it's got to do with the kitchen. So that's Narendra Modi's view. And I think someone gave him that feedback because we told him on social media, now he's changed that ad, and it gets worse. It says, more time for women to look after their children and family. So it gets worse. Why shouldn't the father look after the children and why shouldn't the father be doing the household chores? So I think you just have to look a little deep to see the rot, I think, that is there in this party and their mindset. And I believe Congress President consistently tells me, and I want to say it loudly and clearly here, that the next government is going to be made by young people and women, be rest assured. So I think women votes are very important, and I hope, Dr. Tharoor, you have more sessions like this where we can actually reach out to apolitical people to expose, I think, expose the real intent of the RSS and BJP, which to my mind is clearly anti-woman.
Well, I'm glad you said that. One of the things that we've all been concerned about, any of us who reads a newspaper in India, turns on the TV, sees a mounting series of incidents involving horrific violence against women. And what has been dismaying has been that instead of condemning this and acting firmly against it, so many in association with the ruling party have come out in defense of the perpetrators of violence. Whether it was the marches in Jammu after the Kathua tragedy, whether it was the BJP MLA in UP who was charged. There have been so many cases in which the ruling party's instinctive reflex appears to be to actually defend the person who has attacked the woman rather than rise to defend women themselves. What's the way out of this?
I personally believe I have to issue a lot of statements as I head the Mahila Congress every time there's a rape or that's a rape that's been reported. But I believe to look at violence against women in terms of just data, like go crazy every time the NCRB data comes out, is the wrong approach. I think every rape, whether it's 100 or 1,000, is something we all have to prevent as a society. And what hurts me as a woman is when you see, I don't think any prime minister or my party's president can actually dictate what you and I do in our private time. And if there's an aberration on the personal front and you take a decision, not the prime minister, not the Congress president can control that. But what hurts me is when an MLA in Unnao, Uttar Pradesh, rapes a girl, there is no FIR for 9 months. And because he's a big leader from a certain caste and community, till today the Bharatiya Janata Party has not suspended him or even show-caused him. That hurts me. But I don't say the Prime Minister of India should prevent every rape that happens in this country, but it speaks volumes. You gave the example of Kathua. I mean, it's absurd. I still don't know how to react to it, that there should be a march in favor of a rapist. And that is deeply connected to, I think, communal politics.
Yes.
So if someone gets raped and someone is raping, his or her religion, to my mind, doesn't matter. This is a crime. But it's happening. Everything is connected to religion. And if it continues in this way, if we continue, if this government continues in this way, I think women have lots to lose, and I think there's going to be a lot of trouble coming our way if this government continues for another 5 years, which I believe it won't.
Salman, coming back to the final theme of this first round, one of the areas in which India seemed to be above political contention was foreign policy. There's been a perception for the longest time that there's no such thing as a Congress foreign policy or a BJP foreign policy. There's only Indian foreign policy. I remember the astonishing moment when you were Minister of State for External Affairs in the Narasimha Rao government, and you were sent to Geneva as number 2 of the Indian delegation led by the then leader of the opposition, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So that was the level of bipartisan consensus with which India presented its face to the world. In the last 4.5 years, we've not only seen that consensus fraying, but in some areas a redefinition of what India is all about on the world stage. Have you been looking at this carefully as our most recent foreign minister, and how do you see what is happening to India in foreign policy under the BJP's government?
Well, Shashi, I think the distressing, disturbing part is that there is no exchange between leaders of the BJP associated with foreign affairs and those of us, and there are many of us who've been concerned with foreign affairs in the past, and indeed ministers who've been concerned with Kashmir and so on, an implication of Kashmir on foreign affairs. There's no consultation at all. At the beginning, after laying down office, I had offered that whenever we are required, we would come back and talk. And I think in many decisions, far-reaching decisions that the Prime Minister has taken, including unannounced visits to Pakistan and embracing the Pakistan Prime Minister and so on, I don't think that he's ever consulted the opposition parties, and certainly not the Congress party. Our Prime Minister during the UPA 1 and 2 took pains to ensure that all party meetings happened before any major event happened. When I was sent as number 2 to Mr. Vajpayee, I was clearly told to follow his example. And I must say that it was a wonderful pair of us that we were able to speak the same sentiment and the same language. But looking at what we've done abroad, I think that it was inevitable that if we behaved the way we behave in the country on the domestic front, it was to be reflected abroad. We are creating divisions abroad as well. The manner in which the Prime Minister speaks to Indian diaspora in various countries is clearly a political speech made to a political party and supporters of political parties. We were careful when we were talking about dual citizenship. We were careful that in South Africa we didn't create a further divide between the blacks and the Indians and the whites. And yet for him it doesn't matter. You want to go somewhere, divide. And I believe that he's doing us a great disservice by creating a message in those countries that those people that he addresses are different from the rest of those countries. And the hostility that you will see grow in those countries, and we've seen it happen in the United States of America. Finally, we were supposed to be independent, and that was the consensus. And that consensus has broken down. We are now willing to take sides. We are not willing to stand up for morality. I know that enlightened self-interest is the ultimate test as far as foreign policy is concerned, but I think that we've given up the idea of taking a moral position. India had a remarkable moral position in the world, and I do believe that this Prime Minister has squandered that.
He has squandered it. You mentioned that didn't consult the Congress party. Here's a Prime Minister who doesn't consult his own cabinet. Do you expect him to consult our party? Abhishek, Manu, Singhvi, you want to say something else?
Just to add,
I was going to say somewhat similar thing. I was amused when Salman talked about consultation, because for the first 3 to 4 years, I don't think he consulted the Foreign Minister of India, Mrs. Sushma Swaraj. So there's no question of consulting the Congress party. She has been a little more active in the last couple of years, but I think you have to go back. Here you have a Prime Minister, and I'm saying it seriously, who came into office with some kind of a chip on his shoulder about being ostracized or hated by the international community. Now that was his perception, largely subjective. Therefore, from that flew a lot of other consequences. One was to have all the optics, all the glory hogged by himself. I think that's the position with which he came into office. So everything must be, have you noticed, nobody, no ministerial colleague, virtually nobody else is allowed to travel with him in any major outing, because he must be the center of attraction. Secondly, he must be a presidential one-to-one, making personal friendships. And I think this is an overall package which we have to realize. And that's the way he's thinking. Today, actually, major foreign policy decisions, if you might call them policy, most of them are knee-jerk, according to me, and I may be wrong, I hope I'm at least partly wrong, are made in about 2 days to 3 days by people comprising the Prime Minister, the NSA, and possibly somebody from the PMO. That's it. That's the base of your so-called Nehruvian foreign policy of 70 years, a huge foreign ministry. The decision is made and then communicated.
I think Manish and Kapil both asked.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention about the fact, I mean, in the context of foreign policy, here's a Prime Minister who goes to France on April the 13th. And just a few days before that, Jai Shankar gives a press conference. And he's asked the question about the Rafale deal. And he said, look, the Prime Minister is not, and President Hollande are not going to discuss the Rafale deal. So the Foreign Ministry doesn't even know that the Prime Minister is going to buy 36 Rafales off the shelf. That's the nature of foreign policy in India. And poor Treppier does not know, 13 days, 2 weeks before April 13, that anything like this is going to happen.
That's right.
And so, and foreign policy is not about taking a picture and hugging a president and hugging a prime minister. That's not foreign policy. That's trying to tell the people of India how close I am to President Trump. That's not what gets you ahead, what's got this country ahead. And foreign policy is based on back-channel diplomacy. And here it's upfront diplomacy.
Manish, we're going to chip in on this, but could you also address the Rafale issue? But do chip in first.
Shashi, I just wanted to, while agreeing with whatever has been said, also like to point out that there is an intrinsic opportunism when it comes to the BJP's approach to foreign policy. For example, if you were to rewind back to 2003, it's an NDA BJP government which put the next steps of strategic partnership with the US in place. But the moment they lost office, and Dr. Manmohan Singh's government, in which Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Kapil, Sibbal, and everybody else was there, decided to take that forward in terms of the Indo-US nuclear engagement. The BJP actually brought a no-confidence motion against the UPA government. So therefore, it's a pattern which actually even predates this government, but has got completely exacerbated after Prime Minister Modi has taken over, because now it's not foreign policy. It's about using foreign props for the promotion of one person. That's what foreign policy has really come down to. And on Rafale, what Sibbal Sahab was saying is absolutely correct, because if you look at it, you know, when they say that, oh, there was a great need, and that's why we had to buy 36 aircraft off the shelf. But the fact is, at the price which they bought 36 aircraft, you could have bought 108 aircraft. You've paid 3 times the price for each aircraft. Now, if that does not tantamount to undermining India's national security, I do not know what else does. So you have the option of going ahead with a perfectly kosher, well-negotiated, thought-out process, which would have got you 108 aircraft.
It's 128 because we're going to assemble them in Bangkok.
What I'm saying is that it would have got you 108 aircraft and technology at the same price that you've got 36 aircraft. I think that's the real compromise of national security, which we need to point out to the people.
Quite right. In fact, Mr. Chidambaram, you had asked some questions to the Prime Minister, which have still not been answered on this Rafale deal. Do you want to echo them? Because you had analyzed it pretty ruthlessly, I think, with questions that they have been unable to find responses to.
Well, I had asked 10 questions, and I said there are many more. But then, for the sake of this audience, 3 fundamental questions have never been answered so far. Firstly, this aircraft was chosen by the Air Force. It went through every procedure, and then an MOU was signed that we will buy 108, we will buy 18 off the shelf and 108 will be made. If you want to cancel that MOU, should there not be a reason to do that? Forget entering into a new agreement. If you wish to cancel an intergovernmental agreement, an MOU, should there not be a reason to cancel that? So far, nobody has said what the reason is. The second question. If it is an emergency purchase and Rafale was willing to sell you all 126 aircraft and the same configuration, the document says so, why did you not contract for 126 aircraft? How did you arrive at this number 36? Why is it not 24? Why is it not 48? Why is it not 64? Where did you arrive at this number 36 aircraft when Rafale, the gentleman said on television, I was willing to sell 126 aircraft.
And
the Air Force wants 7 squadrons, 126 aircraft. Actually, they need 8. And you end up buying 2 squadrons. And the Chief of Air Staff has no answer why he's happy with 2 squadrons when he wanted 7 to 8 squadrons. There's no answer. And the third is, all right, we concede for the sake of argument that Rafale will pick the offset partner. Let's assume so. But HAL is your baby. HAL is your PSU. HAL is the only company in India which has made aircraft of one kind or another. And HAL is the only company which still continues to assemble Sukhoi and Mirage. In fact, the entire fleet of the Indian Air Force today up in the air was made by HAL. Entire fleet. MiG, Sukhoi, Mirage, and the Tejas. Every one of them was made in Bangalore. Let Rafale choose its partner. But why didn't you tell Rafale, this is HAL, this is my baby, my PSU. Why didn't you consider HAL for an offset partner? Why didn't you give a portion of the contract to HAL partner? Why did you not even recommend HAL as an offset partner?
In fact, you recommended the other chap, according to the President.
In fact, there was a work share agreement barely between HAL and Rafale said in that statement, 95% of the work is over. There is a work share agreement. So Rafale was happy with HAL. They had entered into a work share agreement. That 95% of the work was complete. Yet the government was unwilling, reluctant to recommend HAL as an offset partner. Now, these 3 questions have not been answered so far. And there are many, many more questions.
Just to add a 4th question, which flows directly from PC's 3rd. Dassault has said many things about the number of offset partners it has, etc. But 2 or 3 core issues it has never denied. One, and this flows directly from PC's last point. One, that it has given the largest offset share to one company in India. And the figure of approximately 50,000 crores is not disputed, ever. 2, the question arises, if that company in the public domain has a public debt of something like 80,000 crores and was teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, Was Dassault struck by midsummer madness or bitten by a mad dog? That was the only entity which it chose. Now, Dassault never tells you as to why out of the entire galaxy of Indian corporates, the largest offset share goes to this great eminent company with a 80,000 or 70,000 or 90,000 crore debt. Of course, it is another great coincidence that that company, the new company, the vehicle is incorporated 10 days before Prime Minister Modi goes, and the head of that company accompanies the Prime Minister. Those are minor details. But Dassault, with all the explanations being asked to be trotted out by the government of India, has not explained this tremendous conundrum. I don't think Dassault could be a top aircraft manufacturer by exhibiting such corporate foolishness.
Just one last thing, and it's a fact which it's not really in the public domain. But Reliance incorporated its company for the first time, that's Reliance Aerospace, on the 24th of April 2013. The Prime Minister decided to buy off-the-shelf 36 aircraft on April 13. So Reliance Aerospace was incorporated on April 24. Dassault said that we entered into a joint venture with Reliance Aerospace in April 2017, right? Which means between April 24 and April 30th, Dassault picked up Reliance Aerospace. And when asked why they picked up Reliance, he said because Reliance had land near the airport. Now the fact is that Reliance applied for land on June 16, 2017. They had no land. These questions can only be answered through an investigation, but not by the CBI. Not with the courts either. Not by the courts either. But we need to dig deep as to what really was the reason why the Prime Minister did what he did.
I'm actually astonished that our media has been so feckless on this issue. When one remembers the Bofors investigations of the Indian media and how literally relentlessly every day, every little corner of this 86 crore scandal was probed and exposed and followed and investigated. I was with the UN in Geneva at one point. People were sending journalists to Geneva to chase Amitabh Bachchan's brother, who was living somewhere near Lausanne. I mean, this was the kind of extraordinary pursuit and inquiry that took place. And here you have this most astonishing scandal, which apart from corruption, as has been rightly said, threatens the security of the nation, and our media is completely asleep with a switch. It's unbelievable. I don't know, Chidambaram, whether you want to add to that.
You see, I think each one should ask himself a question. How many of you are willing to pick up the telephone and speak something utterly confidential on the telephone today? Dozens of people have told me, sorry, I can't speak to you on the telephone. What has this country come to? That you cannot pick up your telephone and speak to somebody, something which is private and confidential, because everyone fears that his telephone is being tapped or could be tapped. That's a sure sign that liberty has been eroded significantly in this country. Dozens of newspaper persons have told me, I said, why don't you pursue this case? I don't want to take names. One story comes out, and then we say, good story, now these are leads you should follow. He says, I can't take it any further, I have a job and a family. Dozens of newspaper persons have told me, I have a job and a family, I can't take it further. In which other 4-year period has an editor of the major English language newspaper printed out of Delhi been sacked after paying full 5 years' salary as compensation? Where have 3 editors of a magazine been sacked on the same day? Where have 2 distinguished anchors been pulled out? They can't get a TV appearance again. When have interviews
which have been promoted between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, yanked off the air at 6 o'clock. When have editorials which have appeared in the online edition disappeared from the print edition of the morning? Each one of this is a fact. I can give names, each one that I'm saying is a fact. I think what is happening is fear has been instilled in everyone. I can understand, I condemn it of course. Fear, Dalits live in fear, minorities live in fear, women live in fear, academics live in fear. I can give an instance of an academic whose name is printed on the card for a book launch, pulls out half an hour because the academics institution's head says, you're advised not to go. Now, fear being instilled in each one of these sections is bad enough. But if private citizens also have that sense of fear, I'm afraid we are way down the road, and it's going to a long time, going to a long effort, a huge effort to rescue this country and go back to a day where the mind is without fear. Which mind is without fear today?
Well said. I mean, these are fundamental questions, and I'm hoping that many fearless members of the audience will be asking questions. I'll turn to you in about a couple of minutes after just one more thing. I want to echo what you've said, because there's one additional dimension to this fear, which was expressed to me by some extremely prominent individuals of our Muslim community, people who had held very senior positions, now in retirement for the most part, who said, you know, we're keeping our heads down, we're not going to speak up on any of this. I said, don't be silly. Who's going to touch you? You're an eminent person. Why wouldn't you? This is 3 separate conversations with 3 separate people. And they said, you know, it's all very well for you to talk. If I speak, if either of us speaks against this government, we're anti-national. But I'm Muslim, I can't afford to be anti-national. Now that is the kind of fear that has got into the minds of some people. This conflation, as has been said earlier, of the Prime Minister with the party with the government with the nation. So that if you criticize any one of them, you're anti-national. This is a complete changing of discourse, and I wonder if the panel would have thoughts on this, starting off with PC's point about fear and going on to the whole redefinition of what is national and anti-national. And then we could turn to the audience for their questions. But Kapil, please, any of you, and start with you, Kapil.
Well, before I respond to that, I've had businessmen coming to me, and top businessmen of the country, saying that, you know, things are terrible. We don't know how to do our business. Most of our investments are now going to be outside the country. We don't want to invest anymore.
The number of NRIs has gone up?
Number of NRIs have gone up. People actually moved out of the country. Young people are moving out of the country. About
$27,000 millionaires.
Exactly, they're moving out of the country. So why is that happening? Because they fear that tomorrow anything can happen to them. The taxman can come. And people, businessmen are called up on the landline and said, by such and such time, you have to do such and such thing. And he'll say, no, but why you expect me to, you better do it. We are giving you a favor that you are asking you to do what you have to do. That's the kind of environment that we are living in. And as far as anti-national, national is concerned, what's a nation? As far as this government is concerned, the nation is the RSS. And if you say anything against the RSS, you're anti-national. If you say anything against the government, against the Prime Minister, you're anti-national. And this all starts on the social media platforms and the fake news. That's one of the greatest dangers that this country is now facing. Prior to 2014, that's the very platform that Modi used to actually come to power. And now that part of the platform is turning against him, he wants to control the social media. But the concept of national and anti-national, see, I can be patriotic and not patriotic, but patriotism is different from nationalism. Each one of us is patriotic, but each one of us sitting in this hall may be for or against the government. If you're against the government, you're anti-national. Fine, I am anti-national, but I'm still patriotic. I love my nation, and that's what is key.
just to supplement what's been said. You know, the reason why a narrative has been created that if you question the BJP, you're anti-national. If you question the government, you are seditious. And if you question the establishment, then you are downright treacherous. Because it goes back to Mr. Chidambaram's original point, that they have weaponized fear. So when you weaponize fear, it becomes very easy to intimidate and then change the very definition of India. So without the hollowing out of institutions, without the weaponization of fear, without intimidation which is of a level that 1.24 crore people prefer to talk on WhatsApp, even having normal, inane conversations. And that's the question which I would like this distinguished audience to reflect upon, that is this the kind of country we want for the next 5 years or beyond? That's really the fundamental challenge.
Well said.
I think you need to hearken back to a little bit of history to understand this nationalism question. There is a book which most of us should read by Golwalkar saying nationhood defined. Now, ultimately, the definition, understanding and spirit of nationalism and nationhood from Nagpur is that. That is the Bible of nationalism. That is the book, along with bunch of thoughts, which explicitly, in many paras running over many pages, praises Hitler's concept of nationalism. Nationalism is homogeneity, uniformity, anti-liberal spirit. Everybody must behave as per a preordained ethic. This is all written down. You will not believe it. You have to just pick up the book and read it.
You can't anymore because they've censored it. The RSS has issued a new authorized edition of Golwalkar where they've deleted the reference
now, that
to
is the
Hitler,
next point I was coming to.
Hitler and the Jews.
This is opportunism. At the moment, for a while, Golwalkar is put on the back shelf. Or at least the real Golwalkar. This is where the redefinition is occurring. And I end with another self-evident statistic. In 2016, we've had the highest number of sedition cases ever imaginable. Sedition, by the way, anyway, is a very dangerous provision. It is virtually obsolete in any country that it exists. Many other countries have repealed it. We've had 40 cases of sedition filed in 2016. I have never heard of a fraction of that since 1947. So if you say something about Mr. Modi, a Bhakt from Kerala to Kashmir will file a sedition against you. And you have to go and face a criminal process, which will ultimately win, no doubt, but go through the entire harassment. This is the new definition of nationalism.
Well said. In fact, on two things. When the British wrote the sedition law in the colonial era in 1893, it was tougher than the sedition law they had in Britain. And the Attorney General of the day said it's because this is for a subjugated people. We have to keep these people controlled. Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru had both spoken against that law, of which they were both victims, they were both charged, but sadly we never got rid of it. I have a private member's bill pending that will read down the sedition law to reflect the Supreme Court judgment that says that sedition should only apply
overt
when there is overt incitement to violence, but not dissent against the government or criticism of the government. But unfortunately, these 40 cases almost entirely would not have involved any charge of violence.
No question about it. No question about it.
And as you know, British Parliament has repealed the sedition law.
Theirs is gone. Ours is still here. So I hope that when we come to power in 2019,
we shall.
We will make sure that this law will go. I think you have some very potential senior people who will take care of this law sitting right here. Sushmita and Salman, you two might want to weigh in on the issue of fear, whether it's fear of women, whether it's fear of others, that the people are experiencing in the climate in the country today.
I think I'll keep myself really brief because I'd like to hear
what's on the audience's mind.
I mean, if anybody says that in the last 70 years, no work has happened in India, we've had no achievements, I think the person who says that is the biggest anti-national as far as I'm concerned.
Well said, well said. Salman? Sorry, the sound system has let us down a bit, but I'm hoping there'll be mics going around for all of you to ask questions.
Shashi, I think fear is bad enough, but I think there's very clear evidence that there is an effort and there is a determination by the establishment, that is, to instill fear. The kind of things you do where videos are made of people being lynched, this is to give out the message that you must fear. And I think what is worse than fear is a terrible, terrible thing. But what is worse than fear, that there are sections of our society, and certainly minorities included, who are switching off. They're going beyond fear. They're retreating into their private worlds because they think that they're no longer part of the public space. And I think that's the worst thing that can happen to a society, where people disengage, switch off, and then just go off into their own private world. We are one family. India is one family, and we can't allow any member of the family to feel that they are not wanted. I mean, that's the message that we need to give.
Well, very well said. I must say that the message that is being sent by this recent epidemic of renamings, when suddenly Allahabad becomes Prayagraj and Ahmedabad is to become Karnavati and so on, sends such a signal that you are not members of the family on the same terms as some of us, because we are sending you a signal that names associated with you are not welcome and only names associated with us. It's a terrible us and them syndrome that is being conveyed. Whatever may be the intrinsic merit of the historicity of such claims, which are certainly debatable, the message they send is so worrying and so negative. Let me take this to the audience. We really were hoping to wrap up at 8, and we are still going to keep to that, or just a little after, since we started a bit late. But, I really can't. Is there somebody going around with a handheld mic? Okay, there's a hand right there in that case. Yes. Now, a couple of ground rules. Please tell us who you are, what you do, what your profession is. Are you a chartered accountant? Are you a journalist? Are you an RSS pracharak? Whatever it may be, just let us know. And secondly, though we really want a dialogue, in the interest of time, please keep your comment or question genuinely brief. No speeches, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Can't hear.
The sound system here is letting us down. I'm really sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tharoor. My name is Priya Ranjan Das, and I'm a journalist. My question to this brilliant panel...
Would you like to identify any particular person to answer? Or
not really, to the entire panel. My question is, what has happened to the Congress party? The party which not only, led the freedom struggle, but also has built this nation by, if not for anything, by being in the government for so long. A party which has brilliant minds and people with experience, sagacity. Why is it, as they say in Hindi, "Saam sung gaya hai"? What is wrong with Congress party? Why is it that today the challenges or the fear, all that you all spoke about, today Congress party doesn't seem in a position to challenge that? And it is not that the Congress party has tasted defeat for the first time. Now my question is, why is it that Congress party is unable to generate ideas to meet the central challenges of India today?
Okay, thank you for that question. I do believe the ideas are being generated, they're not being heard, but that's another matter. PC, do you want to tackle the question? What has happened to the Congress party? Why are we, in their view, not rising to the occasion?
Yeah, as a citizen, if you feel that the Congress party has not risen to the challenge, I must admit our failure to that extent. But that's not because want of trying. In the last 4 years, the only party that has consistently, underlined consistently, without any ambivalence, without any ambiguity, spoken against this government is the Congress party. And we have paid a huge price, we are paying a huge price. Which other party has been subject to such onslaughts from this government as the Congress party is? But that has not stopped us from speaking or writing. That has not stopped any one of us from speaking or writing. Therefore, we are doing our best, but if as a citizen you feel that we are not doing as well as we should, I admit that. I think the real problem was, and I say this on behalf of all my fellow ministers in the previous government, we should not have remained ministers for 10 years. I think in the last couple of years, there should have been a Kamaraj plan in the government, and senior ministers should have been asked to go back to the party. That was a valuable lesson taught to us by Kamaraj and Jawaharlal Nehru, but a lesson that we forgot. As a result, the party organization got neglected. But we are building the party organization very rapidly. I think we built it substantially in Rajasthan, in Telangana, in Chhattisgarh. And I hope the results of the election will reflect that we have built the party organization.
Let me just go back to the year 2004. I remember 5 years of Vajpayeeji's government and the famous India Shining campaign. And really, those are the very questions that were asked at that point in time of us. That what a wonderful work these guys have done. Where are you? You're not going to come back to power. And after 5 years, we came back to power and we were there for 10 years. While I agree with PC that yes, you can have a Kamaraj plan, whether it would have made a substantial difference or not, I don't know. But right, you're asking, you have a right to ask that question, but may I ask you another question? What has happened to journalism?
Okay, whoever has the mic there, yes, please.
Yes. I'm Dr. Bhardwaj from Haryana, Bhiwani. I'm a surgeon by profession and I had been MLA as well from that place. See, I'll ask that my dear journalist to listen to Randeep Surjewala whenever he has time, then he will know that Congress party is speaking and bringing things to the notice of the public. That's one.
Sorry, I should have mentioned Randeep was going to be on this panel.
Yes, by chance he's not here.
His flight was delayed.
But see, Shashi, when I see him, he snubs Sambit Patra and Trivedi and so many other people. And there is one anchor in G News, Sudhir Chaudhary. Once I saw, I get very little time to see TV. See, once I saw that Raj Babbar and Randeep.
Let's keep it short.
Yes, this is. And see, the anchor was also down like anything. See, my question is, see what is happening in redefinition of India. See, once I was seeing a program on television, one professor from University of Delhi, he was distorting history like anything. Nehru did not did this, Nehru did not do that. And see, whatever we have read in last, say, I'm 65 years old, in last 60 years or so, he was redefining everything. Similarly, now the statue of Sardar Patel was unveiled in Gujarat. They were trying to say that lot of injustice has been done to Sardar Patel. Whatever the history I have read, I have never seen because I was born after Sardar Patel has died.
Sir, we have to keep it short. There's many hands up.
See, they are redefining as if lot of injustice has been done to Patel. See, I request and I ask what our Congress party is doing for the correction of the distortion these people are bringing about.
Well, sir, I mean, to be honest, Randeep would have been the right man to answer it because he has been defending. But many of us have spoken and written about correcting the historical record. So I assure you we've heard your point and we'll push it further. Somebody at the back.
Dr. Tharoor, I don't have a question, I have an answer for you.
Okay, well, if you have the mic, you may as well speak. And then another mic at the back there, please. Yeah.
Sir, आपने पूछा कि बोफर्स के टाइम में, मीडिया में, मैं श्याम शर्मा एडवोकेट बोल रहा हूँ सर, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट से। आपने पूछा बोफर्स के टाइम में सारा मीडिया एकदम से पीछे पड़ गया और आज इतना बड़ा स्कैंडल हो गया, कोई नहीं बोल रहा है। सर, उसका रीजन बताता हूँ मैं क्या है। अगर इंस्पिरेशन लेनी है तो शीला दीक्षित जी जैसे रात को 12 बजे भी अवेलेबल होती थी, इसलिए 3 टर्म चल गई, 15 साल दिल्ली पे रूल कर गई। आज का सिनेरियो क्या है सर, सुनिए आप मेरे से। पेट्रोल के रेट 80 रुपए लीटर पहुंच गए। आपके जो कांग्रेस के लीडर हैं जितने भी, उन्होंने क्या किया, अरुण जेटली जी की, स्मृति ईरानी जी की, सबकी क्लिपिंग्स ने उसको फॉरवर्ड कर दिया व्हाट्सएप पे कि हमारा काम हो गया। काम ऐसे नहीं होता सर, काम होता रोड पे आने से, पब्लिक को जगाने से, मेहनत करने से। तो सर रोड पे जब तक कांग्रेस के लीडर नहीं आएंगे ना, तो फिर वही याद रहेगा कि लम्हे क्यों हो अब जिंदगी में मलाल के, मैं खुद ही कब चला था देखभाल के।
I would like to, my dear friend,
I couldn't make it out very clear.
Honorable District
One second, let Manish.
तिवारी साहब,
देखिए, आपकी बात से मैं इत्तेफाक रखता हूं कि जो आंदोलन की राजनीति है, जो विरोध की राजनीति है, वो बहुत ही एक सक्षम तरीके से एक विपक्षी दल को करनी चाहिए। पर उसके साथ साथ एक और प्रसंग है जिसको संज्ञान में लेना बहुत जरूरी है कि सियासत का मतलब होता है लोगों तक पहुंचना, और जब प्रचार प्रसार के साधन बदलते हैं, जो कम्युनिकेशन की टेक्निक बदलती है, तो उसका भी उतना ही इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए। आपने दिल्ली में देखा कि 2012-13 में एक पार्टी टेलीविजन स्टूडियोज में बनी और वो दिल्ली पे राज कर रही है। तो इसलिए मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि सड़क पर विरोध नहीं करना चाहिए, पर जो यथार्थ या जो परिस्थिति बदली है उसको संज्ञान में लेना जरूरी है।
तिवारी साहब, मेरा एक विनम्र क्वेश्चन है। अमित मित्तल एडवोकेट या फ्रॉम हेयर, अमित मित्तल एडवोकेट फ्रॉम सुप्रीम कोर्ट। मैं आगे की तरफ ही आ रहा हूँ। एक छोटा सा निवेदन मैं करना चाहूंगा सर। मैं कांग्रेस पार्टी का बहुत बड़ा समर्थक हूँ और अशोक गहलोत जी व्यक्तिगत रूप से, या मैं आपके सामने आ गया हूँ बिल्कुल इधर, या अशोक गहलोत जी व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे जानते हैं। सीपी जोशी जी मेरे पड़ोसी हैं जयपुर में। मैं एक छोटा सा निवेदन आपसे करना चाहूंगा। आप बहुत महान लोग बैठे हैं। चिदम्बरम साहब से तो मेरी कई बार मुलाकात सुप्रीम कोर्ट में बहुत बार हुई है, सिब्बल साहब से। मेरा छोटा सा निवेदन इतना सा है, कांग्रेस पार्टी रियली इट इज रियली अ ग्रेट पार्टी और देश के लिए वास्तव में बहुत कुछ कर रही है। कांग्रेस पार्टी का निश्चित रूप से देश के लिए बहुत बड़ा अतुलनीय योगदान है, चाहे बीजेपी कहे, चाहे माने या ना माने, वो हम हृदय से स्वीकार करते हैं। एवरीबडी इज रिस्पेक्टेबल एंड ऑनर टू द गांधी परिवार, और आप लोगों के लिए भी निश्चित रूप से। नाउ अब मेरा क्वेश्चन सर बहुत ही बड़ा विनम्र एंड गंभीर क्वेश्चन है, बहुत ही आप लोगों को सोचना चाहिए उस पर। अब ऐसा क्या हो रहा है देश में पिछले कुछ सालों से कि कांग्रेस पार्टी का कोई नाम नहीं लेना चाहता, पहली बात तो। दूसरी बात, कांग्रेस पार्टी इक्वल टू घोटाला पार्टी। कांग्रेस पार्टी के जो घोटाले हैं, मतलब वी कांट इमेजिन एज ए इंडियन, मतलब आपके परिवार और आपके बच्चे भी शायद उस पर निश्चित रूप से बिलीव नहीं करते होंगे। आपके घर में अगर अकेले में आप लोग बातचीत करते होंगे तो कहते होंगे कि क्या स्थितियां हो रही है हमारे देश की। तो लाखों करोड़ों रुपए के घोटाले सर, लाखों करोड़ों के घोटाले, और मतलब स्कैम्स भी इतने बड़े बड़े कि मतलब नोबडी कैन थिंक। मेरा सर सवाल यही है, तो मेरा निवेदन इतना सा है। एक मिनट, क्वेश्चन तो
बोलने दीजिए
तो ये जनता
बोलने दीजिए प्लीज।
जनतंत्र है, जनतंत्र है। एक मिनट आप सुनिए, वकील को वकील से सवाल करने दीजिए।
अच्छा बोलिए, लेकिन खत्म भी कीजिए।
मेरा निवेदन ये है आप गणमान्य लोगों से कि ठीक है, जो गलतियां, क्योंकि गलतियां तो निश्चित रूप से इंसान है, हमसे होगी, पार्टियों से भी होगी, अब हम उसको ना दोहराएं। एंड वी शुड प्लेज टू द भारत माता, टू द, मतलब हम अपनी गलतियों की माफी मांगे। नाउ वी शुड गिव आवर बेटर पोजीशन। हमारा एजेंडा हमारा स्पष्ट करें कि देश में अब हम कांग्रेस का जो राज आएगा, फॉर एग्जांपल अभी राज आता है, तो हम कम से कम ऐसा कुछ काम करें देश के लिए कि लोगों को विश्वास हो कि हम लोग एसी की, जो जैसे हम कहते हैं कि
सवाल क्या है आपका?
ठीक है जी, समझ गया।
घोटालों की पार्टी से
एनीवे, थरूर जी दूसरे प्रश्न पे जा रहे हैं, लेकिन मैं सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहता हूं कि आपको जितनी सब्र के साथ यहाँ सुना गया वो शायद उस दूसरे खेमे में नहीं सुनते जहां से आप आए हैं। ये तो एक फर्क मालूम पड़ गया आपको दोनों पार्टियों के बीच में, और दूसरा हमने तो सही या गलत खामियाजा उठाया, जिसको आप कहते हैं, जिनको आरोप लगाया था उस वक्त, कई चीजें जो हमने नहीं की उसके भी आरोप लगाए, हमने खामियाजा उठाया। लेकिन आजकल तो उसमें कोई तहकीकात ही नहीं होती, घोटालों की कोई सूची कम नहीं है। रफेल से लेके चीनी राइस कैंप से लेके वायापम से लेके सारा डायरी से लेके सूची उससे भी लंबी है। फर्क क्या है? एक तो आपको बोलने का हक यहां जो मिला है वो वहां नहीं है, दूसरा तहकीकात का हक नहीं है।
बैक में किसी के पास माइक है?
Dr. Tharoor, I have the mic. Can I?
Okay, whoever has the mic
Here.
can speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't see where you are.
Yes, here, Dr. Tharoor.
All right, go ahead.
This is my question.
My name is Vijay Gillan. I'm NRI businessman and I'm a poet also. I write poetry and slogan, and I've written Mahila Congress anthem also, which hope Sushmita ji liked it. Sushmita ji, I'm a poet and I've written your anthem, so hope you liked it. So my question is in poetry, and it is BJP's approach as well as there is a question on this. In this, कैसे लड़ोगे उससे जिसके पीछे पूरा तंत्र है, जात धर्म में बांट के रखना जिसकी जीत का मंत्र है, नर छोड़ो भगवानों तक की जिसने जात बना दी है, भाई भाई है खून का प्यासा जिसने ये नौबत ला दी है, साम दाम और दंड भेद चारों भरसक अपनाता है, गांधी के हत्यारों तक से जिनका गहरा नाता है, तुम लिए तिरंगा फिरते हो उन्हें भगवा लेकर चलना है, बतलाओ ऐसे आलम में कैसे फूलना फलना है। व्हाट इज कांग्रेस स्ट्रेटजी?
पोएट तो यहाँ भी बैठे हमारे पास, कवि है।
कविता सुना दी, मैं भी आपको सुना दूं एक।
सुनाइए।
खुदा के बंदे बदल जा, वक्त खुदा के बंदे संभल जाए, वक्त अब भी बदल जा। खुदा के बंदे संभल जा, वक्त है अब भी बदल जा, मत कर एक दूजे से हमला, कुछ ही दिनों का है जुमला। मत कर एक दूजे से हमला, कुछ ही दिनों का जुमला, शहनशाही की आदत भुला के, नफरत के बीज दफना के, इंसान बन के दिखा दे।
This is my question.
देखिए, we promised you a discussion, you got a mushahara also.
My name is Nazia.
Okay, whoever has the mic, just speak.
My name is Nazia. I'm the Vice President of the AIPC Uttarakhand. My question is in the context of our democracy. Is India being redefined? You did talk about government. You talked about how the RSS is trying to redefine India. You talk about how the BJP is trying to redefine India, but you did not talk about the people. You know, if the BJP is in power today, it's because people voted for the BJP. If
31% did, yeah.
If Yogi Adityanath is the chief minister, people did vote for Yogi Adityanath. So, when in the whole redefinition of India, what is the role that people of India are playing? Is there a new aspiration? Is there a new type of people in India? And if we're talking about...
May I say, it's difficult to blame the people. You said the people voted for Yogi Adityanath. Actually, Yogi Adityanath was not even a candidate in the UP elections. He was imposed from the top by the BJP government. The parliamentary system allows them to do that. 31% of the electorate voted for Mr. Narendra Modi and the BJP. So 69% didn't. How can we blame the Indian people for what they've got? You can blame the system, perhaps, that made it possible. But I'm not sure that's entirely fair. However, the larger thrust of your question, which is surely we need to get the people to be conscious of the wrongs that have been done to them in their name by this government, in order to ensure that these wrongs do not continue after the middle of 2019, that message is very clear, and we are all committed to ensuring that the people get the message you want us to give them.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Navodit, and I am from AIPC Noida. My question to all you guys is that, I mean, you raised that our institution has been hijacked. every time we party in the opposition always says that our institution has been hijacked by the government in power.
Right.
Why, as an party now, we are presenting ourselves as we are saying that we'll do this much to save our institution. That is what I'm asking. Why our institution, why there is a loophole that our institution has been able to, people are able to hijack it.
Okay, who wants to take that on?
Why we are not doing enough that our institution, be it...
Salman, would you like to handle that?
Well, I think...
Manu?
That's in a sense, the theme today. Rewriting, redefining is hijacking. And I think there are very, very strong safeguards inbuilt into Indian democracy where it's not easy. But while it's not easy to successfully hijack, all of us have to be vigilant to point out the grave and gross attempts to hijack. And we have all, I think, on this panel, pointed out to you so many things. When the Congress speaks up, when individual congressmen suffer and then speak up, these are all attempts to combat it. So I don't think the hijacking is being fully successful. I don't think people are not speaking up. But yes, the tools of power are being misused to achieve it. And to some extent, power means that the power of appointment does achieve it to some extent in institutions, which will take some time to come back to normalcy.
Okay,
hello,
this
I have a question. I have a question. 49% women are here.
We will give the woman a question, and we'll give a woman a question from this side, and then we have to end.
I'm just raising a question.
Yeah,
Sir,
go
I'm
ahead.
here in the center.
Yes.
My question is, Rahul ji says, "Daro mat." Sushmita ji said, "Daro mat." And all congressmen on the ground, they are actively working on the ground. We are not, हम डर ही नहीं रहे हैं. तो हम लोगों का एक छोटा सा रिक्वेस्ट है for all the senior leaders on the ground, on the panel, that please sir, please make sure you are reaching the colleges with the students, क्योंकि intellectuals जहाँ यहाँ बैठे हैं वो तो आपको सुन लेते हैं, लेकिन मोदी जी की रैली में 5 लाख लोग जो विवेकानंद और श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी को इकट्ठे बिठा गए, उनको हम ये सच नहीं बता सकते. सोशल मीडिया पे हम ये चीज प्रमोट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन वो लोग जो सुन के जाते हैं, जिनके पास टीवी नहीं है, फोन नहीं है, मीडिया नहीं है, जो 200 रुपए में बस में भर के आते हैं, वो एक्चुअली दे आर द रियल वोटर्स. अगर वो वो आपके they are not born Congress or born BJP. So can I ask all of you to please reach the masses, reach the colleges, reach the universities, अपने हमारी जितनी महिलाएं हैं उनके पास जाएं, आंगनवाड़ियां विजिट करें, क्योंकि जो आप कह रहे हैं वो बात सच है, लेकिन देश जो है आलू टमाटर और भगवे में ही फंसा हुआ रह गया.
देखिए, 6 of the 7 here have contested Lok Sabha elections, have gone out to the people, have worked with the grassroots, and the other one is one who articulates our ideas very much for the people. But your message is clear. I think nobody here will disagree with you. We need to get that message to the grassroots. आप ठीक ही बोल रही है. I think we have to have a lady on this side because this corner has been neglected, and that, sorry, has to be the last question. Yeah, who has the mic here? Mic किसके पास है? Mic यहाँ नहीं पहुँचे. अच्छा.
Sir, I just have one question. I wanted to ask one question.
GDP बढ़ने के बाद किसान की स्थिति क्यों नहीं बदलती है?
Sorry, all right. Whoever has the mic may ask a question, and then can I ask one of the volunteers to take a mic to this lady?
Respected panelists, I have this one question over here.
Yeah, one question.
Why is Congress losing its spark? It is very evident how Nirav Modi and all these bank looters escaped the country. As an individual, when I had to go to trace for somebody who escaped the country, I assumed I landed in Bombay, a domestic flight. I went into immigration on international airport. I went through all the records of there. When I was allowed, how come our government of India is openly saying that we do not know where they are initially, that when these people ran away? Why can't it be done? Push them, make them accountable, just like you say for JPC. That is question number 1. Number 2, yesterday even I tweeted around regarding those 2 guys who were caught in the hotel room with the voting machines. I wrote again to the Prime Minister of there, but I don't find any support, no pressure from Congress. Where is all that spark?
Okay, we have a former Home Minister sitting, and let him
God bless.
Thank you. Please, PC. No mic? Ah, yeah.
The names you mentioned,
you're right.
Each one of them was allowed to leave the country. They didn't leave the country by stealth. Each one of them was allowed to leave the country with the full knowledge of the government. One had got himself photographed with the Prime Minister in Davos and disappeared. One told the Finance Minister he was leaving, took his leave, bid goodbye and left the country. Therefore, there is no stealth in their leaving the country. All this was done with the blessings of the government. These matters can only be investigated by another government. As long as this government is here, how do you expect them to investigate how they left the country? These will be investigated. Rest assured, someday a future government will investigate how they left the country and who allowed them to leave the country.
Well said. Okay, this corner has been neglected. I apologize. A lady has the mic, I hope. We had promised a lady a question. Is there a mic here? Okay, give the mic to the... There was a lady who was quite anxious to ask a question. And then we'll have to end with that. Last question, please.
Very good evening, everyone. My name
Closer
is Suman,
to your mouth.
Yeah, my name is Suman Virwani and my question is on environment, wildlife and animal welfare. So sir, I would like to know, I understand that Mr. Chidambaram is working on the Manifesto 2019. So can we expect an eco-friendly Manifesto 2019 this time? Because the current government is, the protected forest land is being diverted for industries. Because of urbanization, there are a lot of calamities that have happened. And you would vouch for what happened in Kerala recently. So, sir, can we expect an eco-friendly Manifesto 2019, please?
Very much so. Under Mr. Chidambaram's chairmanship, I am actually leading this process of consultations on the environment. I've conducted one just 2 weeks ago with 40 eminent environmentalists and NGOs working in the environmental space. Not only did they give me a lot of suggestions during a 2-hour session there, but new suggestions are coming in. If you have suggestions for the manifesto, please let us know. I think it's manifesto.inc at Alan, do you have the email address quickly? I don't want to give the wrong email address. In any case, we will tweet once again the address to which you should send your recommendations by email. We are receiving recommendations by email in addition to our consultations. And Mr. Chidambaram chairs this committee with 18, 19 members who are all bringing in suggestions from around the country. And he is going to put together a very eco-friendly, very people-friendly manifesto. We want this to be a manifesto of the people, for the people, and eventually by the party. Okay, that will be the manifesto of the Congress. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. And now...
Sir,
okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Maaf kijiye, we've taken longer than we were supposed to. We are 15 minutes over time. We have to vacate the premises. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you, panelists. You've been wonderful.
Thank you very much. Now I'll request Dr. Yogesh Sadeva for vote of thanks, please.
And the national anthem. Yes. Just stand for the vote of thanks.
मैं आप सब लोगों से अनुरोध करता हूं, इसके बाद हमारा नेशनल एंथम होने वाला है. आप लोग अपने स्थान ग्रहण कर लीजिए, हॉल छोड़ के मत जाएं. I would like to firstly thank Dr. Shashi Tharoor for a platform such as the AIPC, which has provided the professionals to have a role in the political discourse of the country. A special thanks to the distinguished and accomplished panel for being with us today and sharing their thoughts and views. Special thanks to Dr. Salman Soz, who through his Skype calls has imbibed professionalism into a political setup. A very, very special thanks to Dr. Amita Singh, who tireless energy made us achieve the success we see today in this platform. And she's made a Delhi a fully functional team. Thank you, Dr. Amita Singh, once again. Special thanks to the Delhi team who worked tirelessly to make this a grand success. A very warm thanks to all the audience who have been here and will carry out the ideas out of this hall and across the country. The media who has helped us reach out to the people who could not be present today amongst us. Thank you and Jai Hind. Please stand by for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
थैंक यू सो मच। आप सभी से गुजारिश है कि बाहर निकलते वक्त कृपया व्यवस्था बनाए रखें और आराम से बाहर निकले। थैंक यू वेरी मच। गुड नाइट, शब्बा खैर, गॉड ब्लेस यू।